Really excited to get to talk to Marc Ross, analyst from NFL Network. A lot of front office experience. B, you and Mark go back to the Eagles days, man.
Yep.
What's up, BMitch?
What's up, brother? I'm chilling.
You too important to come here to the combine with the working guys,
Hey,
man. The
man,
grinders. That was always how you made your mark, being a grinder. Now you just hanging out at
you
back.
gotta let the young guys take over the grinding part.
Let the Brian Westbrooks of the world take over.
I'll come in when I need to.
Mark, it's so funny with the scouting combine because technically we're all here to watch college prospects get ready for the draft, but what really happens this week is free agency's getting set.
Yeah.
And I'm curious for you, what have you heard the most of so far?
Well, all the teams are just trying to get good players, and that's really the bottom line. There's no secret formula. People ask all the time. You just have to identify your needs and identify the good players and make the right decisions. Of course, the Seahawks are going to be the standard of what to do, and I just tell people, well, just absolutely crush all your personnel decisions over 3 years in the draft, in free agency, and the trade deadline, and then you can go win the Super Bowl. So the formula is not a secret. It's just really about your staffs working, putting it together, being one accord with the coaching staff to make sure you identify and bring those right players onto the team.
Absolutely. And so, for us, we're obviously focused on the Washington team and what the Commanders are going to do. And I think everybody's kind of expecting them to have a more aggressive approach to free agency. They need help on the edge in a big way. The guy I've kind of landed on being really intrigued about that I think would make a lot of sense for this new Durante Jones where he wants versatility is Boye Mafe from the Seahawks. How much interest is there going to be in a dude like that in this cycle?
Oh, a lot, because number one, whenever you're a free agent coming off a Super Bowl team, then your value goes up instantly.
Yeah,
and you look at all those Seahawks that Kenneth Walker at one point during the season, like he's not even playing for them now. The guy's going to go break the bank for what he did in the playoffs in the Super Bowl. So, of course, with Mafe and his age too, he's a younger guy, and you're looking at some of those other pass rushers, the Trey Hendersons of the world. Like those are older guys. So, whenever you have a Super Bowl champ who's still young. And promising, that value goes up in scouting stats because as we saw last year with the Commanders, like you bring old guys on and they hit the wall, then it's over with for them, as opposed to younger guys when you're trying to still have a little foundation, you can get some years out of them.
Mark, what's that balance of trying to get guys in free agency and also trying to draft younger guys to come along?
Well, you need everything, and there's no one way like a build through the draft. No. Again, using the Seahawks as the blueprint there, they've got a great mix of young foundational pieces and older guys. And you need all of that to build a team, and that's what really makes it a team. It's that we're bringing in these players from all different avenues of different ages at different points, and different teams are in different places because either their quarterback situation or their head coach situation of, all right, we're the Raiders right now with the first pick and all this cap money. We're in a different place than, let's say, the Chiefs, who are an older team. Now we need a young infusion of talent here to go with these vets. So all 32 teams are in different places and have to use the avenues at their disposal of what they have and not really say, do it like that team.
It's interesting you bring up the Raiders there because this time of year is when we start to hear about, at least rumblings of possible. The NFL's become a big trade league over the last decade or so. Maybe you can credit Howie Roseman with a lot of that. How realistic do you think the Maxx Crosby trade talks are?
I don't think, we got a brand new head coach coming in there, a second-year GM is like, you just can't let that guy out the building. I know he's disgruntled. I know that there's been chatter, and of course he'll be in high demand for other teams, but there's just no way you can kind of start out your tenure with saying, all right, our best player, he's gone. So especially the way Max plays, especially the passion he has, that's the foundational piece you want everybody to build off of and emulate, especially when you're bringing in a head coach who won the Super Bowl, apparently the number one draft, who won a national championship. You've got winning mindset dudes coming in, so you better keep your best alpha mindset guy on the team.
Well, and then I think maybe at this point the other biggest name that at least gets talked about, whether it's nonsense or not, but you see Philly so active in the trade market. The A.J. Brown roller coaster of emotions that seems to play out on social media. Howie yesterday at the podium says we're always listening when asked about A.J. Brown. It seems unlikely to me. Do you think there's a major move coming in Philly?
Well, I live in Philly, and then a lot of our your former teammates there, BMitch Hughes on the air, and Ike, and so I that's fun part of my day. I just turn those guys on and just hear the natives go crazy about A.J. Brown nonstop. So there's something that one now that I think he might not be around because of the way he's been talking, the way the teammates talk, coaches. You just if you want a guy like everybody from the Raiders talk about Maxx Crosby, we want Max here. The Eagles brass like, well, it might be a possibility.
Yeah, because Sirianni said something differently.
But he didn't commit, though. He
didn't commit that he would be back.
Exactly.
The general manager say, I'm always listening. That's his job.
Yes.
But when the coach goes, I can't commit. Okay.
Yeah. That where there's smoke, there's fire. And being in Philly, there's been smoke all year long with this guy and the in and out of games and practices and everything going on. So that one, I do think something could happen with AJ.
What does that compensation look like? Because you know how he's going to want picks most likely.
Yeah.
You getting a first? You getting a package that maybe adds up to a first?
Yeah, I think more of a package will be the value for AJ. And, he crushed it when he got AJ. He absolutely crushed it, how he did. And now see if we can flip this. And it's almost with AJ, like, yes, of course he can still play, but just the constant distraction that he brings. You have addition by subtraction when that happens. Do we really want to deal with this every single day as opposed to just preparing for practice and games and whoever the next opponent is? And I think if you ask the Eagles brass, they say, no, we don't want to.
But don't you know, like when you look at it, T.O. was very similar to A.J. Brown. There are some guys, they're a little different.
Yeah,
but the fans,
how long did he last?
Yeah, but the fans seem to love that.
Yeah, not in Philly, not with AJ. Yeah,
they don't like AJ. Yeah. They love T.O.
No, they love T.O. because T.O. brought it, and
he was also
he was hurt
better,
and he came
right?
back.
T.O. was like another
more
level
dominant.
Up,
he's more dominant. And T.O. stuff wasn't the work and the team. AJ, it's just always a little something there with. They're questioning the full commitment to the team. In Philly, you start questioning your toughness and commitment, Philly fans will turn on you quick.
Yeah.
Were you working in the Eagles front office when T.O. did the press availability doing the
No, I was with the Bills at that point. Yeah, that was the year after I left. And, that was hilarious that it went down.
For you two guys that both you live in Philly, B played there, what's the more infamous Philadelphia media availability? T.O. doing push-ups and sit-ups, or when Allen Iverson's mom talked to the media in that driveway?
That was.
I mean,
wild.
those are two
We've
wild.
had a lot of. Yeah, you gotta. I mean,
I would have to go with the mom because, the player plays.
Yeah,
right. When the mama talking, that's different.
That's a whole other level.
Who told you that? Who told you that? We have Marc Ross joining us here in Indianapolis. You can check out all of Mark's work on NFL Network. Read his work for NFL.com. Washington really has one big internal piece they've got to deal with, and that's Laramie Tunsil. Adam Peters and Dan Quinn have said it's a priority. We want Laramie back. He is under contract, so Peters said, we don't feel any sort of deadline pressure here. It's not like we have to get this done or he's going to be a free agent, but it's going to be a lot of money.
Yeah.
What are you thinking that deal requires, and kind of what is the guarantee structure for a dude that's excellent but also been in the NFL a long time?
Yeah, he has been and bounced around and has really, to his credit, man, he struck it big. Laramie keeps getting passed around but keeps coming out on top but playing at a high level. That's a credit to him that he's still playing at a high level. And, whatever the market is, I don't know the numbers right now for those top 3 tackles, 4 or 5. His age, he's got to be there or number 1 or number 2.
Right.
So, yeah, get ready to pay for Laramie. But as you mentioned, he's under contract, so there still is that discussions going on, just like other free agents. Like, how do we make this work? Because his piece of the puzzle affects all these other pieces of the puzzle that you have to take care of. So you're always talking about them in conjunction with one another.
Well, talking about another guy at left tackle who sparks the attention of anybody in Washington, Trent Williams has seemed to having these little discussions with the 49ers. but he's 37 years old.
It's amazing.
Laramie is 31 years old.
Yep.
How does that number compare?
Yeah, and 31 is old in the NFL eyes, so 37 is just a phenomenon, and that's the outlier there because Trent, is a beast, as y'all know. So you always want to go younger, as we talked about Mafe. You always want to go younger than older because once you hit a certain level, in Philly, we always had a thing, Joe Banner, like you hit 30, we're just going to let you go out the door.
He loves Joe Banner.
I brought that up for a reason. Yeah, so,
Joe brought me in after 30. I performed, and then he won't start talking about dude only 30. I'm like, what fool? I got him only 30.
We brought you in, BMitch. But no, it's, you always want to err with the younger, and especially when you're giving up that much money because, again, guys hit the wall and they just don't come back.
Sure. Marc Ross joining us here from NFL Network. When you look around this free agency cycle, you've got a young guy in Alec Pierce, wide receiver. It's probably the top wideout on the market. Yeah. And there's 1 year of real productivity. Obviously, the speed and size are real. That's measurable. How much of a bidding war do you think a guy like Pierce can create? Like, are we talking 30 mil?
Yeah, a lot. Yeah, because it's like going to the grocery store. You need some apples. Like there's one apple up in that cart. All right, I guess we're going to fight over this apple. That's him.
Who got the most money?
Yeah, when you look at him, like he's going to have teams bidding against one another because when you're looking at, it's not a great free agent class for receivers, and with the draft, I think there's some good players. I don't think there's any true number one. So when you're looking at him in the landscape of free agency in the draft, he's a lot more attractive. We got to go get this guy. And also because he has a certain skill set that you can easily identify. He's going to go blow the top off and make huge catches down the field. And, with a guy like Terry, let's just say, he fits in perfectly with that. So, teams are looking at that instant offense that he can produce, and that value is going to be tough for a team to get him.
Jerry's obviously going to tag Pickens, but imagine how much money Pickens would make if he hit actual free agency.
Oh, yeah. If Pierce is going to get that, Pickens would have got X amount more.
Totally.
So, but they can't let him out the door.
Do you think Pickens would have a kind of a different clause in his contract? Because he's a little different, though.
That's my concern. I did an article a couple weeks ago about this, who gets tagged and whatnot. And Pickens, to me, is still a buyer beware. I mean, despite the production, you still saw stuff like, what is he doing? Right. There's still that element. I think there'll always be that element about him, and I think he's in a perfect situation there in Dallas because of Dak and CD. So you take some of that pressure off, but you put him on another team where he's the number one guy. Things change, instantly when you're that guy as opposed to being, 1A or 1B.
Totally. And there's an offense to get him the ball, and Dak does a good job of facilitating. Like, what if he goes to a subpar quarterback? Your time is valuable. You got to run. Appreciate you joining us, man.
My pleasure.
You, Mark.
All right,
Marc Ross, give him a follow.
Take care, brother.
Always great information. Check him out on NFL Network. Just drop it down. That is Marc Ross joining us. We appreciate you, Mark. We're going to keep it going, though, here because we're going to try to stay on the clock for our guy, Jeff.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mark.